Okay, great. Okay.
Yes, sir. Oh, sorry.
Can you see my screen? Oh, just checking if you can see my screen.
Yeah, we can see it.
Great.
Mm.
So last week we looked at index. I think we stopped at index and match.
Yeah, we stopped at index and match.
Yeah. Has anyone tried it? Do you have any questions regarding what we did last week? I hope we tried it, because we need to try it, otherwise we won't remember when we actually need it. And trust me, these questions get asked in interviews. So we need to try and practice. Otherwise, when they ask us in interviews, then it won't come to you that quickly if you don't practice using it. We're going to look at Xlookup today. That will be our last one on the lookup. And then we're going to move to if functions. So we've done VLOOKUP. If you remember, I think we should just do a bit of revision on VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP and index and match. So if we want, so this is the data I sent last week. I hope we all have it. And this is just basic data. It's a sales data for an organization. And you have this data and you're trying to do a lookup. So last week we looked at salesperson. So sales, so assuming we have let me just copy this. So we're just going to do a quick revision on our Xlookup. And we have salesperson's ID. I'm just going to pick anyone. Control-C. So when we did a VLOOKUP, we know that if we are looking for anything, if we want to look up data, we have to use a unique ID, and we look up to the right side. We can't look up to the left, which was why we now did index and match last week, so that we can look up to any side. Before we do our VLOOKUP, I'm just going to copy this data and then I'll move this around. And that's because we're doing VLOOKUP. I just want to just do a bit of a reminder. So to find the salesperson with this ID using VLOOKUP, what do we do? What's our formula to find the salesperson with this particular sales ID? What do we do using VLOOKUP? This is why we'll know if you've been revising or not. Can anyone help us?
So it's equal to
VLOOKUp,
open bracket, lookup value,
N3.
What's our lookup value?
N3.
N3. So we click on that.
Comma. Copy the array, table array.
The table, yeah. So
yeah.
How do we select our table?
Should do one.
Sorry, say that again.
The table.
Yeah, how do we select our table? If you let me know what to select on the table.
Start from B2.
B2, okay.
Control Shift side arrow, down arrow.
Okay.
Down, Control Shift down arrow, comma.
Yeah. Comma.
false.
Comma, what?
It's true, master. Is there? Wait, where's the formula? The formula is gone.
The formula is there.
No, it was giving me a guide. Okay, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
So
Is
click
there
5.
Column index.
5? Okay.
And
And then
Comma.
true, comma,
Comma,
false.
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 false. Okay.
Close the bracket.
Close bracket.
Close the brackets and
Enter.
enter.
Whoa.
Okay.
Why can't we not find this? We know it's there, right? What have we done wrong? Let's look at it. Let's look at it. What have we done wrong? You know, when we have a unique value for VLOOKUP, when you select your table, the column with your unique ID, that is where you start from. So the main problem is our selection of the table. And of course, that would affect the count of our columns. If we look at this selection, we've selected the old table. Our salesperson's ID has to be on the first column of your table because it will pick that on the first column and it will look to the side, to the right side. In this case, it will look for this salesperson's ID. It would look for it on this column, on column B, and of course it's not there. So it won't work. Our selection should start from here, column G. And then what we're looking for is the salesperson, and that would be 2. And enter. And that's the only time it will give us the correct answer. Otherwise, it won't be able to find it because it's only looking for this ID on the first column. Once it can't find it, that is it. Its work is done. It will bring back any. So we have to watch our selection. Your selection has to start with that column that has your unique ID. That is your VLOOKUP. Okay. Let's look.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would that be the same with the Xlookup as well, or no?
It will be the same with the Xlookup.
Okay.
It would be the same with the Xlookup. So the Xlookup, your unique value is going to be on your first row. So when you do your table selection, it would be on your first row. Let's revise Xlookup quickly. I'm just going to go to the data we used the last time. So this is our data for Xlookup. And when we do our selection, it has to be, we have to start with the unique value on the first row. So for this one, we're not going to do this. Let's do, for instance, let's see, we have John, okay? And so that's the employee name. That's a name. And we want to know the pay for the bonus for John. What's the bonus for John? What do we, how do we get this using Xlookup? Can someone help us? So we're trying to get the bonus paid to John from this table. Has anyone spotted why we won't even have a correct figure in the first place from our table? Can we do a lookup based on name, based on what we did last week? Don't forget that for us to do a lookup, we have to have a unique value. If you look at this data, employee 501 is John, employee 503 is John, employee 507 is John. So if we do a lookup, it's only going to bring this John, the first John he finds. That's what it's going to give you. And we know that that will not be correct. But for the purpose of this exercise, let's use a name that is unique. Diana is unique. There's no other Diana on this table. So to do Xlookup, how do we do that? Xlookup, somebody help us. It's just like VLOOKUP.
So it will be formulas, lookup and reference. Then you choose
Okay.
Xlookup.
Let me go to formulas, lookup and reference, Xlookup. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you open the bracket.
Well, we don't need to open a bracket
Sorry,
if we're
sorry.
using the argument. So we can, what we need to do is put it in the, just
Okay,
select what we need to
typing
put.
in. Okay,
Or
Diana.
do you want us to type it in instead?
Yeah.
I thought we were typing in, sorry.
Okay, so let's type it in. Equal to Xlookup,
Up.
open a bracket. Okay, I'm with you.
Lookup value is bonus.
Bonus is what we are trying to get.
So that will be B, the
B7.
B7.
C7. C7.
Is it C? It's
B.
B7.
B7.
B.
B7.
Yeah.
How did, no.
No. It's going to be,
We
where's
need to pick
Diana?
our unique value first. We are looking for Diana's bonus.
Diana.
K4.
K,
K4.
yeah, but
Yeah.
it won't be K4 because this is a big,
K7.
just assume it's a big table. We have Diana here. So it
Sorry,
will be
F11,
F11, yeah.
comma.
So doing this, you don't even know where Diana is on this table.
Yeah, F11,
Okay,
comma.
comma.
Array.
Array is
You select
Comma.
the table.
Select the table. How do I select the table?
Start from bonus.
Start from
Bonus.
Employee ID.
employee ID. Start from employee ID.
And
No,
select
start
the
from
entire-
bonus.
bonus was starting from.
Bonus. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Comma.
Comma.
Then column index.
row
Yeah.
index.
Row index. Yeah.
Roll index.
5.
5. Where did 5 come
That's
from?
that's 7. Is it
Roll index is 1,
1,
isn't it?
2, 3, 4, 5.
502? Row index is 1, 2, 3.
3.
Yeah,
No,
column
it's 1.
502.
Sorry, I'm lost.
So we are working on Diana's bonus. So
Yeah,
the
we're
row
looking for Diana's bonus.
is 5.
5.
And then
Comma.
4. Comma and then
False.
close the bracket.
Change the
Assuming
the
you don't know
1.
Diana's
So if you
So
change that 5 to 1, would it work?
nope, it won't
thinking
work.
because it's under 502.
Why is it?
What if you don't know what we've
No,
done wrong here?
because you didn't select the entire table. I think you're meant to select the entire table,
Okay, let's
not
select
from
the,
bonus.
so select the entire table like that.
Yes.
And
And then I
enter.
think the
What are we looking up here?
Bonus.
We're looking up bonus. Bonus for who?
Diana.
So we're looking at bonus for Diana. So we know that Diana is the employee. That will be on the employee name row. When we select our table, it's going to be looking for Diana on the first row. So when you select your table, you have to start with employee name.
Name.
So you have to start with the row that has the employee name. This is going to be our table selection. And then once you select your table, that is now when you count the number of rows. Our bonus is here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So that will be comma 4 and enter. And that is Diana's, that's Diana, that's the bonus. And it's brought in 6,000. So
Okay,
always remember your table selection is very important. If you are doing Xlookup, your unique value has to be on the first row of your table selection. If you are doing VLOOKUP, your unique value has to be on the first column of your table selection. If we're doing employee ID, for instance, if this is employee ID, if I change this is Diana, right? Diana's employee ID is 509. If I put 509 here instead of Diana, you will see that this will become wrong because we're looking up 509. We're looking up 509 on this table. If you want to use 509, we have to start our table selection from employee ID. That's the only way it would work. And then the number of rows will now become 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this would have to change to 5 for it to work. So your table selection is very important. You have to make sure you select right. Is that clear?
yes, thank you.
I'm gonna go back to the screen. I was sharing before for has my screen changed?
Yeah, it has.
Okay. So let's okay. So let's do index and match. So we're looking for the salesperson with that with this employee ID. I'm just gonna change the using index and match. Who remembers index and match? I know index and match is a bit complicated, but it just takes getting used to. So remember when the first thing we did was a match.
Yeah.
Okay. And what was the match? The match was meant to get the row that data is on. So to do a match for this ID, it would be equal to match.
Match.
Open a bracket. Click on what you are looking up, comma, and I'll click on I'll select my sales ID column. And then I'll close the bracket. Enter. So what it's telling me is that this employee ID is on row 75. If you count this down up to 75, you will find this there. So it is on row 75. I purposely did a large data for this. So row 75, when we get to row 75, we would find that employee ID. Just to check, if I pick this one, this is going to be on row 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I replace this with this, can you see that is changed to 4? So we know that it's correct. So I'm just going to take it back to what I had before. So that's a match. So we've done a match to find position on the row, to find the row position in the column, to find row position in the column. And then once we find the row position, we're going to do an index to bring in anything we want on that table, as long as it's on that row. So we just specify what column you should bring it from on row 75. So it would be equal to index, open a bracket. We have to choose a table, and we're looking for salesperson, right? So if we do index, that's my salesperson. I'll select all the way down. And then comma. If you look at the prompt, it's asking us for the row number. So we know that our row number for this is 75. We're going to start with that. We're going to put 75, comma. And the column number, I've only selected one column, so it's just going to be 1. It depends on your table selection. So enter. That is Susan Ray is on row 75. Let's filter by, let's look for Susan Ray. Yeah, Susan Ray. So we have a lot of Susan Ray, but the only Susan Ray with that number we're looking for, that is the right Susan Ray. So even though we have different Susan Rays in the company, but they have different employee numbers, which is why we're using employee ID, because it's unique. So we've done an index. What we now need to do is to merge the two together. And we simply need to replace this 75 with the match formula. So you can literally just copy and paste. But of course, by the time you're doing this, you don't want to be doing match first. If it works, you can do match first and then do your index and copy and paste it in. But you have to be careful with your selection so it doesn't move. So we need to merge this together. If we start with index, so it's equal to index. It will just be exactly what we have done now. Let's select our table. So let's even assume that we select the whole table all the way down. Comma. And then our row number. So once it asks us for a row number, we drop the index heart and put on our match formula heart, and then input our match formula here. So let's put our match formula. It will be match. Our lookup value is this, comma. We want to find it here on this row, on this column, sorry, comma, and is an exact match, which is 0. So I'll close my match. And once you close your match formula, you can see that your index formula, the prompt for index comes back up. When you put a comma, then it asks you, what column number do you want me to bring this information from? We want G, we want column G, and we've selected our old table. So it will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That will be 6. And then we close the bracket and enter. No, something is not right. Why did we get Thomas Gordon here as against Susan Ray? So 46389 is Susan Ray. 46389. Oh, it's Thomas Gordon. What did we do the first time? Let's check our first formula. Clear filter. Okay. I'm not sure what we did wrong here. What did we do wrong? So G2 to G, I'm thinking is our table selection. So 75 to H2 to H2341. And this is G2 to G2341. I can't see what is wrong. 2341, 2341. Can anyone see what is wrong with this formula?
Can you click on the
So this is our right answer. Why is this one different? So equal to match. As a lookup value, comma. There's a lookup array, comma 0. Okay, this is becoming weirder by the minute. I have a feeling that this is not 46389. Oh, I'm not sure what happened the last time. How did we get 75? I have no idea. I think this is J01463889. J01463889. Yeah, that is Thomas Gordon. So is it different? Yeah, that's it. I have no idea what just happened, but this has miraculously changed to 18. I don't know why. Did I change the number? I'm not sure. Do we understand the index and match? Can we do it together? Now, I'm going to take this off. Let's do this together. Who is going to help us? Can someone help us? We can start with a match, if that will be easier. Okay. Oh, I changed the number. I think I remember now. Can someone help us, please?
what we're doing for index? Yep.
Do you want to do the two combined, or you want to do match first and then do index and match?
We could do match, then do index and match.
Okay, let's do match. Let's change this number. Let's change it. Okay. Yeah, go ahead with the match.
Okay, for match, we're doing equals match.
Equals match.
And
Okay.
N 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, N7.
Open a bracket
Open the
first.
bracket, sorry.
N7, comma.
Comma. H. What the whole of column H here.
Yeah, the date and column H,
Comma.
and then there's a prompt here.
Where is the exact match here?
0. And enter. So that's on row 17. So if we want to do index and combine it with the match, what do we start with?
Equals index.
Index.
Open bracket.
Open a bracket.
Table array.
Yeah, table. We need to select our
whole
table.
table, yes.
The
B.
whole table. Okay.
E2 to K.
Okay, there's the whole table selected. Comma,
Comma,
The match.
the match.
the match. So we should start a match. Okay, match.
No, we're doing for index. It's just index we're doing.
We're just doing index. Okay,
Yeah,
so
there's
what
no
do we
match.
put here?
So we put
We need to put the row number.
14. Sorry, 17,
17,
comma.
comma,
Then the column number is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
6.
6.
6,
And close brackets.
and close bracket, enter.
Yeah.
So that's Susan Smart. And that's because we already did a match to find that Susan Smart is on row 17. Can we now do it together? Index and match combined together?
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's try.
Okay, equal to
Equal to
The equals index,
index,
open bracket,
open a bracket,
table to match,
A, the whole table, B
the
to
whole
K.
table, the whole table,
Yeah,
comma.
comma, match. I think this is where we bring
yeah,
it.
Yeah, this
yeah,
is where
going
we
to
bring in the
match now.
match.
Yeah,
Match,
Open bracket.
open bracket,
where we want to match the cell,
N1 to N3,
N3, yeah,
comma,
comma,
then the column, the sales ID column, all of
the
it.
sales ID
Yes.
column, okay, comma,
comma,
Exact match 0.
exact match 0, and
close
then
the bracket,
close the bracket,
comma, 6,
comma,
Comma, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 is the
6,
column number.
column 6, comma 6,
close the bracket.
and close the bracket and enter.
Wow.
Brilliant. Well done. And that is index and match.
Yep.
So we're going to look at one more lookup, which is the king and queen of all lookups, which is Xlookup. We're going to look at Xlookup. And you know, when we did VLOOKUP, it would only look up to the right side. And then we do HLOOKUP, it would just look down, not it can't look up. And then index and match can look on both sides, but you have to combine this index and you have to combine with the match. But Xlookup now solves all these, problems, shortcomings of the other lookups. And it's only, I think it is in the recent Excel version, so it's not in the older ones. And what it does is you can just simply select where you want the data to come from. Instead of, counting the number of columns or counting rows, you can just select where you want your lookup value to come from. So if we do this again, let's see. Just gonna delete all this. Okay. So we're looking for salesperson. If we're doing Xlookup, it would be equal to Xlookup. This is our lookup value, comma. Where are we looking this up? We are looking it up here, comma. If you find it, if you find the name, just bring it. If you find that number, just bring it from here and close the bracket. I'm going to do that again. Equal to X look up. If you open your bracket, it's going to ask you for your lookup value. This is our lookup value. We click on it, comma, and it's going to ask you, where do you want me to look this up? Look it up from here, comma, and what column do you want me to bring back? If, yeah, we want salesperson, just select the column you want it to bring back. There's no counting here. There's no counting the number of columns. There's no, you have to start selection from your unique ID. And it just brings it back. It's the simplest of the lookups. If we use the function box, it would be, if we look at Xlookup here, Xlookup, as usual, it will ask us for our lookup value. I'll click on the lookup value. Where do you want me to look this up? I just want it from here. What do you want? What column do you want me to return? I want this column to return. And that is it. You don't need all your false. You don't need any other thing. You have it. Is this clear?
Sorry, can you just please run through it one more time, Kemi?
Okay. I'm going to delete the skip. I'll use the function box under lookup reference. If you go to Xlookup, your lookup value is this. Once you put your lookup value, where do you want it to look this up? Your lookup column, just select your lookup column. What do you want me to return? Just select your return column. And that is it. Okay. If it's if for instance we want, if it's item we want, for instance, for probably, let me see, we have Danny Brooks, Control V. So this is the name. And then I'm going to say, okay, this is item, return the item. Of course, I haven't checked this for any unique value. It still has to be unique, but I'll just pick this as an example. So there might be other Danny Brooks here, but it will give us the first one it finds. So we want to find the item for Danny Brooks. So that's Danny Brooks here. I'm going to highlight that in yellow so we can see. So it would be, we're looking for item, right? Xlookup, sorry. Xlookup, open a bracket. Danny Brooks is a lookup value, comma, look up this in under salesperson. That's where Danny Brooks is, comma, and return what? Item. And close the bracket, enter. And it's return refrigerator. So this can look up, you can look up anywhere on the table, as long as you put your value, your unique value, where you want it to look up from, and then just select the column you want it to return the answer from, either to the left or to the right. So this would solve it. Is that clear?
Thank you.
Okay. So that's Xlookup. If you have Xlookup, it's really what, just using Xlookup. It's so easy to use. That is our Xlookup. Today, the next thing we're going to look at if functions. I'm going to put a file here on the chart. I'm going to share the data I just shared. Did we get the file?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we're going to be looking at another function that we can use it to like bring in data as well, which is another very, very important function to learn in Excel. So you would find that you would use if a lot. And if is just like a logical statement. You're just saying, if this condition is met, do this. If you find this condition, count this. If this condition and this condition, if these conditions are met, do this. So it's like a logical statement, and you're trying to like use that to bring in the right information. This is a simple data, and this is this is Santa Claus, and they're trying to determine who to give Christmas gifts to. But they only want to give these gifts to children that are younger than 10. So they have the data, they have the name of the child, the age of the child. And if the child is younger than 10, that child will be eligible for Christmas gifts, otherwise too old. So we have this data, and we want to plan, how many Christmas gifts are we going to get? We have the data of the children coming to the center, and we only give them gifts if they are younger than 10, and we already have this information, but we need to use this to plan how many gifts we need to buy so that it can go around and everyone gets a gift, everyone under 10. Tommy is 5, Grace is 2, Jim is 14, Sarah is 15, Kate is 8, and Kim is 10. We need to put a formula in this cell to either say this person will get a gift or this person will not get a gift. If they're eligible to receive a gift, we want a yes there. If not, we want a no. For this, we use an if statement. So we will start with equal to. I'm going to start with the formula box. Equal to. It's going to be under logical, and it will be if. And that's the function argument box. So the first logical text is if the age is less than 10, right? That would be someone who is eligible to get a gift. So it would be equal to, we're starting with Tommy. That's the age, less than 10. So I'm saying if that age is less than 10, you can see that it would, by the side, you will see, you have an idea of what it's going to do. So you already said true. So he has tested it and knows that, well, 5 is less than 10. So that is a true statement. On the second box, you're saying if this is true, then I want to put a yes here. I'll just put a yes here. And if this is false, no. And okay. So it's going to check the age beside it. If it's less than 10, it will return a yes. If it's older than 10, it will be no. I'm just going to drag this down. And then we can see that 14 is a no, 15 is a no, because it's going to test the statement every single time. And 10 is not young, because we have said it needs to be younger than 10. So Kim is 10, is a no. To type it in manually, it would be equal to if you start with your if, open a bracket, and then it will ask you for your logical test. Our logical test is C3 is less than 10, comma, and then it will ask you, what do I do if that is true? Value if true. So if it's true, it would be a yes. If you notice, I've put this, what's it called, around the yes. And then if it's a no, if it's not true, so when you do a comma, then it's going to ask you, what do I do if it's not true, if it's false? Then put, I want a no if it's false. And then I'll close the bracket and enter. And you've literally just done what we did now. If I drag it down, we will get the same results. So I've done this in lower caps. Is that clear? Let's delete this. Can we do this together?
Yes.
Okay. So what should we use? Should we use the function argument box?
Equals.
Equals
If.
if.
Yeah, give me like 5 minutes ago, so.
Open the box.
So can someone mute? Okay. If.
Open the bracket.
Open the bracket. What's our logical test?
C3.
C3.
Yeah.
Less than.
C3.
Less than
10.
10,
Comma.
comma.
Is it called inverted commas?
Yeah.
Yes.
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 Close the inverted comma.
And then we'll put the apostrophe.
Comma.
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 Inverted comma.
Inverted comma.
No.
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 Close the inverted comma. Close the bracket.
Close the bracket. Enter.
Enter.
Very simple.
Drag down.
That's good. That's really good. So we know now that we only need to buy 3 gifts, because out of all the kids that are registered, we're only giving 3 of them gifts based on this criteria down here. So we now said, okay, we previously said, oh, if they're younger than 10, we're now saying, oh, someone now comes to complain that, you know, Kim's mom comes to complain that, come on, my child is 10. Surely you can still give a Christmas present. So we have now changed the condition that if they are 10 or younger than 10, then they get a gift. So it's either you are younger than 10 or you are 10, then you get a gift. So we are going to use an if or statement. So if you are this or that, you get a gift. One minute. Okay. Can you still see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So I think. So in this case, we know that Kim was not eligible for a gift here. But once we put a formula here, then Kim, if the formula is right, then Kim should be eligible for a gift. So we use an if or statement. So the first thing I would like to do is, let's start with an or, okay? Equal to 4. So, no, I'm going to use the box, the function box. It's still going to be logical. I'm going to pick or. So it comes up with this argument. So what you're saying is either this or that. So our first logical is this C21 is less than 10, right? And then our second logical is C21 is equal to 10. So as long as one of these conditions is met, then that person will get a gift. That's what we're trying to do. And okay. So that's by all statements. So I'm saying that I've put in the two conditions. So if it is true, then do this. So we're breaking it down just the way we did in index and match. So I'm now going to add the if to this. We already know that this is our statement. This is what we want as our true statement, this all. So I will start with, I'll put if before it and then open a bracket. So this is my state, this all is now my first statement. That's my logical test. And then I will put a comma. So value if true, if that my logical test is true, my value would be yes. Otherwise, it's a no. Enter. So if I drag this down, we would notice that Kim is now a yes, because now Kim fits within the criteria that we're looking for. So it's either you're 10 or you're younger than 10. Okay, someone wants the data in the Telegram. So can someone please put the data on the Telegram group, please, for Wally? Thank you. Does it make sense? Let's now try and do it all together. So the first one, we're saying no. So if we start with equal to, if, then we open a bracket. What is our logical test is we're now going to construct the or. So it will be or this is less than 10, comma, this is equal to 10. That is our logical test. And if it's true, we want a yes. And if it's not true, we want a no. And enter.
If true, we want a yes. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So if I drag it down, you will see that that is, so that's doing it all together. Sometimes your if can get so long, as in you would nest one if within another if, and then you use and if. And I always prefer to like break it down and just do it one by one. And sometimes as well, you have to make sure you test your statement manually, just to make sure that what you're doing is going to be correct. Because if you have a large data and you've pulled and you drag the formula down and you don't know that there's an exception somewhere, then it will be wrong. So always test your data manually. Just do a sample test and just make sure it is giving you what it should give you. So that is if or. We can use if and as well. So this is or is either this or that. And the function and is these two conditions or these three conditions must be met. All the conditions must be met for it to be true. For all is either one or the other. Either one or the other. And you want all the conditions to be met. So this is another data set here. if and. So we're saying our condition is that you will get a gift if you're younger than 10 years and you're in Apple class. So the name of your class, if you're in Apple class and you're younger than 10, you will get a gift. So if you're younger than 10 and you're not in Apple class, you won't get a gift. So we need to construct a statement that will bring us, that will be able to give us a yes or a no here, and we use and. Let's start with and. And we're going to start with, for simplicity, we're going to start with Grace. Grace is age 2 and is in Apple class. So we know that will give us a yes, right? If we do equal to and, I'll use the function box so it's clear. It would be logical and, so it's going to ask us for our arguments. Our logical one is age, right, is less than 10. That's our first logical statement. So that is true. Our second logical statement is this class name has to be Apple. Is that true or false? It has to be Apple. I think we need to put it in like the apostrophe. And okay. And if you notice, if I go back to the box, you can have as many logical statements as you can have, like maybe 5 conditions you need to meet. And you just keep putting it there. And if it meets all of the conditions, then it will return a true. But if any of the conditions fail, then that will be a false because you have used and. So you are saying this and this and this and this has to be true before anything can happen. So that's the true. And then what do? We add our if statement to it. So if we put if, open the brackets, and this is now our logical test for our if statements. And then I would put a yes, comma, and if it's false, is a no. And close the brackets and enter. So that's a yes. We know Grace is 2 and Grace is in Apple class. So Grace is definitely a yes. Let's check Cherry. Let's check Tommy. Tommy is a no because Tommy is in Cherry class. Let's see the other ones. The other ones are no's because the next person in Apple is 10 years old. He's not younger than 10. So if we want to do like, no, you can't be 10. It would be, I was going to say if we do 10 and younger. Is that clear? So these are ways we can bring in data, as in we can put in a logical statement to bring in a yes or a no, or a true and a false. And then we can use this to build other things. It might be that, okay, if this is true, then do this. So we're going to get to the various ifs on the next tab. Do we understand this? Can we do the and together, please? Let's do the and together. Who is going to help us with the and?
Let's try.
We could use the formula box.
Okay, let's use the formula bar. It's going to be under logical and.
Okay.
What's our first condition?
Younger than 10 years. So C.
C33.
C33.
Less than 10.
It's less than 10. Okay.
Second logic.
Second logic, and they are in Apple class.
Okay, where do I pick for that?
For Apple class, C.
D33 again.
D33
D33
equals Apple.
equals Apple. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. And that is true. So this is our logical statement for the if. Then we need to combine this with if.
Okay.
Okay.
If, put if there, open bracket.
If, open bracket.
Yeah. So at the end of the bracket, comma,
Comma.
inverted comma, yes, close that, comma,
Comma.
inverted comma, no, close that, close the bracket, enter.
Enter. And that is a. So you can build your conditions one by one just to achieve what you want to do, and then add your if to it. So the next step, let's look at some ifs. So this is another way to use if. So in this case, we're saying if this condition is met, then add this. That's what some if does. Count if this condition is met, then count the ones that meet that condition. So this is the sum if and some ifs. They are very, very important formula to know because you would use it if you work with data. So I have this table here. These are footballers. They live in, the city they live in is there, their name, their favorite color, and their income in millions. So our first question is we're going to use a sum if. And we're saying, what's the total income of all footballers who like red? So we know there are some footballers on this table, they like red, and we want to know their total income. Just footballers who like red. Any other person, we don't want to know. We want to know the sum of the footballers who like red. So that's our column. So what would be our logical statement here? It will be equal to anyone that likes red, right? So sum if, the way sum if works is you will start with what you want to, well, what you want to add, no. You start with, it depends on if you start with sum if, let's use the formula verb. Logical, is this where sum if? Where's sum if? Is it on financials? Okay. Is it on lookup? I'm just looking for where sum if is. Okay. I will find, if you can find where it is, if you type sum if and click on this FX here, it will
Are you
come
sure
up.
it's not maths and trig?
Yeah, it's probably maths and trig, yeah. But if you type it, you can always bring it up, clicking on this FX here. Yes. Sum if, where's sum if? Yeah, that's it. It's under maths and trig. So it comes up with a function arguments as usual. And the first thing it's going to ask you is, so you because you are summing if a condition is met, so it will ask you for the range of your condition and the criteria, and then what you want it to sum if the condition is met. We know that we're looking for color red. We're interested in players who like color red. So our range is where the colors are, which will be the favorite color here. That is our range. And our criteria here is this color red, this red here. So we're saying, look at this range, look for color red. And if that condition is met, then it's asking us, what range should I sum? So this is where we want the sum to be. I'm gonna change this to, this should be, sometimes it doesn't work if it's not exact. So this is the sum range. We want you to sum E4 to E18 as long as D4 to D18 is red. And okay, it's come up with 194. Let's look at our red ones. This is red. So we have red. That's red. I'm just going to highlight the reds. Well, let me highlight it in red. So the answer is given is 194. So let's do it manually. Equal to this plus this plus this plus this plus this. That should give us 194. And that did not give us 194. Oh, we have another red here that I've missed out. Plus this, enter. So that is 194. And that is it using a formula. So it's sum if, it would prompt you for your range, prompt you for your criteria, and then what's the range you want to sum. If I delete this and type it in, it would be equal to sum if, open a bracket, it will ask you for the range. This is the range where our criteria is, just the colors, comma, what's the criteria? It's red, that's what we're looking for, comma, and what is our sum range? This is our sum range here. And then close the brackets. That's 194. If we change this red to, if I change it to yellow, the sum for players who like yellow is 141. So this is yellow, 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 yellow. That's yellow. And if we add all the yellows, equals to this, plus this, plus this, plus this, 141. So anything you change this to, this formula will pick it up. As long as that's your criteria, it's still looking at the same range. If we change it to white, Ctrl+C, I'm just going to put white here. And that's 25. And this type of formula can be very useful when you maybe you have a template that you've sent out to people and there's a data behind that. So you're saying if for instance, if it's like sales and whatever item they pick here, it will return the sum of that item or something. So it can be quite useful. The next one is the sum ifs. And it's simply the sum of various criteria. Well, yeah, criteria, not criteria. So sum ifs you have how many conditions? You have several conditions that you need to be met. And then you sum all the ones that meet that condition. So in this case, we're saying, if you live in Paris and you like red, we want the sum here. So not just you liking red. So red, Ctrl+C, I'm just going to put this back to red so we can see the change between the two. And this would be, so if you just like red, the sum of your millions is 194. But if you like red and you live in Paris, we want the sum of that. So we use sum ifs. So we can use the formula box and then sum ifs. And the difference between sum if and sum ifs is like when we're doing like the and, you can put different conditions and then it starts you with the sum range. In the other one, it started with the criteria range because we only have one criteria. But in the sum ifs, because you can have like different criteria, so you start with the sum range. So it's going to ask us, it's asking us what we need to sum. So we need to sum this. That's our sum range. And then what's our criteria range 1? If you start with our criteria A, the city is Paris. This is our criteria range 1 here, where the city is. And then our criteria 1 is we want it to be Paris. So I'll click on Paris here. And then our range 2 is we want the color to be red. So we select our color column. And then criteria 2 is red. And okay. And we have 110. So you can see that it's different. Let's say the people who love red, who live in Paris. We've got Paris here, Paris here, and Paris there. And then, so that would be equal to this plus this plus this. That should be, yeah, 110. And if we change Paris to, let's see, Berlin, for instance, Control C. Berlin, we don't have any player that likes red that lives in Berlin. We don't. So that's 0. Sorry, there's feedback on this line. Yes. Okay, if we change this color, for instance, to, let's change it to black and see. So we have 54. So that means we have players who like black and who live in Berlin. So it's just missing 54. The next person that likes black lives in London. Is that clear? And to type it out, it would be equal to sum ifs, open a bracket. It would ask you for the sum range. So we'll put in the sum range first, comma. And then it asks for a criteria range 1, which is going to be the city range, comma. Our criteria 1 is Berlin, comma. Our criteria 2 range, it would be the colors, comma. And our criteria is black here. And then we can close the bracket. That's because we're only putting 2. If you notice, if you put a comma, it will prompt you to put the third one and then the fourth one on and on like that. I don't know what the limit is actually. I've never used it to the limit. So I don't know how many of these conditions you can put in. But I think it's quite a number. So I'm going to take the comma out and just close the bracket and enter. Oh, okay. Something is not right. I haven't. So we have the sum. If we have a sum, oh yeah. Can anyone see what is wrong here? I'm going to show the table so you can see. Can you see what is wrong based on the selection on this table?
I think you started from E3 rather than E4.
Yeah, I started from E3 rather than E4, which is why it's coming up with an error. So keep your selection, the same. Make sure you have the same selection, the same number of rows on your selection. Otherwise, it will come up with an error.
Sorry, Kemi, would you have been wrong if you had started from 3?
If I start everything from 3, then
yeah.
as long as I start everything from 3, then it will work. Let's start it from 3. So as long as I start everything from 3 and I don't just start 1 from 3. So the last time I started 1 from 3, that was why it was wrong. So if you start one of them, so if we move this for, I want to move this one, yeah? Then that will be wrong. So you have to make sure you start everything from the same row. So yeah, you either like that, or you do it like this. So as long as it's the same row, then it would work. You have to do the same selection for your sum ifs. Otherwise, it will come up with an error. Count if and count if is just like our sum if. But for count if, it is counting, and count ifs is counting when several conditions are met. Is basically the same thing. If we do, so in this case, we are saying how many footballers like the color yellow. We know that 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 footballers who like the color yellow. So it would be equal to count if, open a bracket, and it's asking you what's the range for yellow. So this is the range for yellow. That's the color, comma, and what's the criteria? So this is easier than the sum because we don't have to put anything to sum. What's our criteria? Criteria is yellow here, and we close the bracket and enter. So it's mainly picking the range and picking the criteria. And if you want to use the formula, the function box, I'm thinking is count if. Okay, where's count if? Where's count if? Let's see. We can find it. Equal to count if. If I open a bracket, I can click here. So if, okay, let's see. A lot of the time, I don't know where the functions are under the different headings under the formula, but I just type it in and then click the function fxa and it gives you the function arguments. Other ways you can put it in the search box and then you will find where it is. So our range is, we're looking for color. So that's our range. And our criteria is yellow here. And okay. And that is it. Easy peasy. And count ifs would be different conditions. So this is count if will be equal to count ifs. Then we open a bracket. What's our criteria range 1? Is city. We're looking for footballers who live in California. So it will be, our first range is the city, comma. Our criteria is California. That's our criteria 1, comma. Our criteria range 2 is still color. So we select our color range, comma, and our color is yellow. And then we close the bracket and enter. And we only have one player living in California who likes yellow. That would be Declan Rice. All the other people who like yellow, they live in other places apart from California. Can we try the count if together? Can we try this together, please? Did we do the sum ifs together?
No.
Okay,
No.
let's start with the. Did we do sum if together?
No.
Okay, let's do this all. Let's do this again. Let's do this. Let's start with the sum if. Let's do it together. Equal to.
Equal to
Or
some.
do you want us to use the function box?
We could use some ifs.
Sum if, okay. Sum if.
Some
The
if.
range.
Open a bracket. Don't forget. If you don't open
Yes,
your
sorry,
bracket,
yeah.
then you won't see the prompt.
Yeah.
Open the bracket.
So the range.
The range, what's our range?
For
Um,
income.
D3, the column,
The color, comma,
comma,
and then what's our criteria?
D23,
B23, comma, what's our sum range?
E, the income column.
Income column. That's it. And then we close the brackets and enter. Let's do some ifs. Is that clear? Is that the one we just did? Is it clear to everyone? Let's do some ifs.
Sorry, for the criteria, do you select the entire table or just the color?
Just the color. This is our criteria. It's just one criteria.
The
So
cell.
it's just, yeah. So we just want, we selected the column for criteria range. You select the column for criteria range. So that's the range where it's going to look for your criteria. Let's try some ifs.
Okay.
Hey, sorry, so the sum range will be
Where you want the sum, the values you want to sum. So this is
Okay.
our sum range.
okay.
So when it finds red, it would add it. That's what we're saying.
Okay.
Okay. So let's do some ifs.
Okay. Equals
Equal to
some ifs.
some ifs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Open bracket.
Open bracket.
The sum
So
range.
that would be the city table, the city column.
Look at what he's asking us. He's asking us for the sum
Income.
range. What is going to sum? Don't forget, this is some
Okay,
ifs.
the income. The
So some
income.
ifs start with the sum range. So the
E-
income,
Yeah.
that's our income.
Where's the prompt? Criteria range. So that would be the city column.
City column, okay. That's a criteria. That's the criteria 1. That's city. Okay.
Comma.
Comma.
That would be C35. Where are we doing? Sorry, Berlin, sorry.
C26. Okay.
26. Comma.
Comma.
Criteria range 2 will be the color column.
Colors, yeah.
Comma.
Comma.
Then the criteria would be black.
Black. Okay.
Is that wrong?
And
Oh,
then we
no.
close the bracket, enter.
Yes.
And that's correct. Okay. So some ifs will ask you to put the range for your sum first,
Range.
and then you do the range for criteria.
Range. Okay.
Let's do count if. Let's do count if equal to
For the count if open bracket.
Open a bracket.
Range will be the color table.
The color.
Column. Yeah.
Okay.
Comma, then the cell where the color is.
Yeah, that's how the color
Yellow,
is.
close the bracket.
And close the brackets.
Yeah.
And we only have 4 players who like yellow. Let's do count ifs. Equal to count ifs.
Open bracket.
Open bracket.
Criteria range 1 will be the city column,
The city, okay,
comma,
comma,
criteria will be California C35,
okay,
comma,
comma,
criteria range 2 will be the color column,
column,
comma,
comma,
criteria 2 will be D35, yellow.
yeah. And then we close the bracket. Enter. Do we understand that?
Yes.
Okay. So the next one we want to do is an average if. So we have these employees who live, well, we want to find an average of all our, of the earnings of the employees who live in London. So what we're saying is, if that employee lives in London, give us an average of that. Let's identify the ones who live in London. These are London. Yeah, so those are Londoners, just so we can check our formula. So what we use is an average if, as you would guess. Average if, open a bracket. Our range is this city, comma, criteria, London. No, sorry. We have to put what we need, the average. So our criteria is London. And then this is what we need the average of, and enter. So that's an average, so we have 3 employees and we can see our average here, 72.33. So we know that is correct. Let me do that again. It's basically like the other ones, equal to average if, open a bracket, our range is city, comma, our criteria is the city, the London here, comma, and what is our average range? This is what we want to find an average of. And we just close the bracket. And if we want to use the function, the formula box, it would be, thinking it should be under math and trig, right? Average if. Why do I never find these things? Where is it logical? Financial. Okay, I give up. Equal to average if. I'm just gonna click here to bring up the box. So we have our range. What is our range? We're looking for city. We select the city range. Our criteria is the city here, which is London. And our average range is on the yearly income, and that's okay. Is that clear? Let's try that. Let's try this together. The average if. Who's gonna help us with average if?
Equals average if, open bracket,
open bracket,
the range is B B43 to B40 to B53.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
comma,
Oh,
criteria.
criteria, yes. The criteria is London.
Okay. Comma, and our average range.
The range is from the yearly, all of the yearly income.
Yeah. And then we'll close the bracket and enter.
Yeah.
Okay. So you get the gist. And there's average ifs as well, where you put two conditions. Our next tab is if error. I don't know if we did if error when we did VLOOKUP. I'm not sure we did it. But if error is, sometimes you put in a formula and for whatever reason, it comes up with an error. So if error, you can say that if this formula comes up with an error, then do this. So sometimes, you're doing VLOOKUP and you know that some of the data you're looking for might not be on that table, but you don't want it to come up with those NAs. So you can say, if you find an error, return 0 or return a blank cell, or depending on whatever you want it to do. So in this case, we're checking the cells for error. And we're saying if there's an error, we want to return the word error. And we use an if error statement. So it would be equal to if error, open a bracket. What value are we trying to see if it's an error or not? This is the value. And if it's an error, then I want you to return error. Or maybe you can say return check this. Check this. It might be like to point your attention to something. So what I've done is I've said if this is an error, if this cell is an error, just bring in check this. And if it's not an error, it just brings in the cell. It wouldn't do anything. So if I drag this down, all the way down, all the ones with errors, it brought in check this. And the ones that are fine, it would bring in the number. And the reason why this function is quite important is sometimes, you're using a VLOOKUP to bring in numbers and you're adding those numbers. If you want to add these numbers if you want to add 40, 50, and then you have an NA in between, and then you're adding this together. If you're adding this together, well, it never used to work, but I think, let me see. No. Let's see. Yeah. It will give you an NA because it cannot add this to numbers. But if I do a lookup, if I do like an if error, so if I say equal to if error, if this is an error, if it's an error, just give me 0 and close the brackets and enter. If I drag this down, this one that is an error will give me 0 and it won't affect my sum here. And that's because I've said if anything is an error, give me 0. And you will usually, combine if error to like look up to other formulas to say if this formula, if it comes back with an error, just give me 0. Sometimes you have a blank cell and you're trying to divide something. When you get to that blank cell bit, it will give you an error. And you don't want that because it would distort your sum. So you can use an if error to check that. Let's do this together. So I want to check the cells and bring in something else if it's an error. In this case, let's bring in let's bring in a blank cell. So if it's an error, just give me a blank cell. It will be equal to if error, open a bracket, click on this, comma. If it's an error, I want a blank cell. So I will just do your apostrophe twice and close the bracket and enter. And then you don't even know there's a formula there because it's cleaned it out. It's brought in a blank cell. And when you pull it down, the ones that are errors are now blank. But one thing to be careful of is when you use an if error, make sure your formula is correct. Because if error can cover up, when you use an if error with the formula, it can cover up your error in the formula. So if the formula is not correct in the first place, you might think that it's not finding that thing. So if you're doing a lookup and your formula is not correct, and then you've added an if error to that formula to say, bring in 0. So before you use your if error, just make sure your formula is correct and you have those NAs before you now say, bring in 0. Otherwise, you can cover up errors and then you wouldn't know because you've added if error. You just think that, oh, you can't find it. So that's why it's bringing 0, not knowing that your formula is actually incorrect. So it's just something to check when you're using if error. Do we want to do this together? Who can help us with this?
Pick the cell where you want the answer to be. Where to start from, I think.
Sorry,
Yeah.
say that again.
Equals.
Equals.
If error.
If error.
Open bracket.
Open bracket.
Value error would be B3.
B3.
Comma.
Comma. What do you want it to do? If it's an
Error.
error.
Bracket, comma, error. Yeah.
You want error. Okay.
Yeah.
Error.
Close that. Close bracket.
Close bracket.
Enter.
And enter.
Sorry, Kemi, can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
To get some results, you were putting inverted commas. Is there a reason why? Then how do you know when to actually use it when bringing up
So when you're typing it in like this, when you want to like bring in, anytime you want to bring in something that is like a text, to show that is a text, you have to put the those two, the apostrophe.
Okay.
Otherwise, it would not accept it. So if we take that off, it won't accept it. Enter. It would not be correct. So you have to put that. So what you're saying is just it's like a code. Just bring it in exactly like this, and then that will be correct. It might be that for this you might want to like draw someone's attention to something, and then it might be if this is an error, just check your numbers or something like that. If you're not expecting an error in that cell. Okay, and if we drag this down, then all the ones with the error, we have error. So please practice what we have done. And next week, we'll do some text functions next week when we come back. Do we have any questions on this? And then next week we'll do nested if as well, which is mainly which is nesting, combining ifs. The way is simply the way we've combined and or with the if. So this will be combining several like double ifs together. So sometimes you click through a formula and you see like a lot of, a long string of if, and if. And if you're able to like build your basic if, you can always, add more to it, add more conditions to it. So we'll do that next week. Do we have any questions on what we have done today? Okay, I think this is where we're going to stop today. And I will see you all next
Sorry,
week.
Kemi.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask, for this function, do you have like a cheat sheet whereby you have them, or how can you, because it's a lot, is there a way to, or how to, do you get where I'm coming from, please? Like a cheat sheet.
I know where you're coming from, but there is no, because you are doing different things. So you can basically use this as a cheat sheet. So you can use this data as, so if you practice what we've done today, okay, and just save it, you can use it as your cheat sheet. And the reason why I haven't put, the answers on it is because I want you to practice and do it. Because if you don't do it, then you won't know it for next time. So please practice what we have done. And you can, once you practice it, you realize you don't really need a cheat sheet. Once you get the basic, it's like, they're all very similar. As long as you know what you want to do. Okay, this is what I want to add, as long as this condition is satisfied. And you can do a lot of trial and error, because sometimes you're trying to like build a string of conditions and it keeps collapsing. So you just try and build it one at a time until you get what you actually want to do. So sorry, I don't have like a list of, and that's simply because you'll be trying to do different things. And then you'll be stringing it in different ways, depending on what you're doing. As long as you know the basics of, how to input it, that's it. So please practice with this. If there are any questions, I will take them next week on this. If you struggle with anything on this, then we'll revisit it next week.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks for logging in, and I will see you all